This is the Mandaway Yunupingu most music fans know, but Mandaway is also carving a path through the barriers which separate black and white. Last month he received the country's top honour, Australian of the Year.
I'm proud to have been chosen and selected as the Australian of the Year. Proud that Aboriginal Australia is starting to be worked at as a mechanism for tomorrow's bright future where coexistence can prevail.
Spreading the message of racial harmony is what Mandaway does well. At a reception in Newcastle today, he was welcomed by civic leaders and members of the Aboriginal community. Mandaway sees himself as a role model, a former teacher turned rock singer who wants to help young people in this, the Year of Indigenous People.
I think it's basically just what I've been doing for the last 7 years, just being an Aboriginal ambassador. I think that's a good job to have. But it also allows for what has never happened in the past to be part of something for tomorrow.
And it's easy to see that Mandaway has made his people very proud.
We're an ambassador for Aboriginal people, our youth, our culture, our heritage, and that word treaty, I love it because I believe in it.
Treaty, yeah, treaty now.
After a slow start, Gosford Wyong in the white, green and red shirts turned up the tempo, scoring 222 runs off 44 overs. After the tea break, Mark Curry and Stephen Mace opened the batting order for Newcastle. With Mace out for 4, New South Wales all-rounder Brad McNamara took over, their partnership producing 38 runs. But with 41 runs to his name, Mark Curry fell to New South Wales off-spinner Greg Matthews. With grey skies prevailing, McNamara was joined by Tony Fort, who showed some impressive form, only to be caught soon after by Steve Small. Despite a brief break signing autographs, Greg Matthews went on the attack again, this time claiming the wicket of Newcastle's Greg Arms. Shortly before 8:30, rain struck, Newcastle were 4 for 91. With the match called off, the Challenge Cup was awarded to Gosford, who had a higher run rate. Catherine Lamond, NBN News.
This giant lagoon just south of Cessnock has new life. Just a few years ago it was suffocating, clogged with a weed called salvinia. This contamination was a serious threat to waterways across the region.
The concern was that the big massive material here can go and infest, if you like, right down Wallumbye Brook, then it turns around, goes back up through Singleton and comes back down the Hunter, so it had potential to really infest an enormous area.
As seen in this dam near Wallumbye, salvinia can totally dominate, cutting off light and oxygen, killing fish and stagnating the water. At Ellalong Lagoon, Cessnock Council ran a 2-year campaign spraying herbicides to kill the weed.
We were out there with a boat with a 6-metre boom, sort of trying to push our way through it.
Inspectors have been nervously waiting to see if the weed will attack again, but it seems the problem is gone. And the fish and wildlife are back.
And now you've got pelicans and swans and cormorants all breeding out there, so it's beautiful to see, really.
It's been a long time between major cricket matches at the #1 sports ground. Since the earthquake, no major game has been played there. But after 2 years of virtually sitting idle, $1.7 million was fielded by Newcastle Council and the Earthquake Fund to rebuild the facilities. Work started last September. There are a new curator and press facilities, a traditional style picket fence and a grandstand to seat 800. It also houses 4 change rooms, umpires and ambulance facilities, plus a dining area for players and officials. Disabled people have also been catered for. The transformation has boosted the spirits of the local sporting fraternity, the only disappointment that both grandstands weren't replaced, which would have doubled seating capacity. It's hoped work will be completed in time for the local cricket semi-finals next month. Cricket Association Secretary Dennis Broad will lodge applications with the Australian Cricket Association to host Sheffield Shield and international games as early as December.
Well, if you haven't got the facilities, you don't have the first-class matches here. Players these days are very hard to please in a lot of ways. I mean, first-class players expect first-class facilities.
With facilities to match a pitch that's rated among Australia's top 10, Mr Broad believes the community will reap the benefits.
It's great for the town, it's great for the city, for tourism. Also, people read about it internationally. We have 100 press reporters come to the game. They report all around the world, so it puts Newcastle on the map.
Catherine Lamond, NBN News.
Yes, it's that time of year again. This Sunday is Valentine's Day, and retailers at Newcastle's Charlestown Square Shopping Centre banded together to offer some ideas to the romantics among us and possibly save the rest some recriminations.
I don't get anything for Valentine's Day as a rule.
Do you give anything?
You've got to give something, haven't you, or you're in the bad books.
Lingerie looks like this year's big mover. Slinky slip-ons turned heads, or for the boys there are the matching socks and jocks sets, or add a bow tie for a slightly more formal style. There are novelty ideas including cuddly cartoon character outfits or the more snug-fitting bodysuits. For some people, a little can go a long way.
Oh, small and special.
What I'd like? Chocolates.
I love a big bunch of red roses. Well, hopefully this baby will come Valentine's Day.
Just flowers and a card and just me.
These days, there's also the more scientific approach.
We'll give you a compatibility chart so you can work out like whether to stay with the person you're with now or get rid of them, save a few bucks before Valentine's Day and go off with their best friend.
Just dial in a few details and out come the prospects for love, luck and fortune.
I think I prefer the romance style.
Well, it may take a little of the spontaneity out of romance. I think this Valentine's Day I'll just let nature take its course. Andrew Lobb reporting, NBN News. It was a pat on the back for sponsors and supporters of the lake's biggest flag-waving day. More than 25,000 people turned out to the Australia Day parade and celebrations in Spears Point Park. According to organisers, the Australia Day Committee now sees Lake Macquarie's efforts as a model for future festivities. Also launched today plans for this year's Clean Up Australia Day on March the 7th. Lake Macquarie has adopted the slogan Rubbish Free in '93, with prizes on offer to those participating by filling garbage bags and taking them to any one of 100 collection points throughout the city. Newcastle City Council will be cleaning up and greening up. Parks areas will be targeted with cleaning, tree planting and landscaping efforts.
For these contestants, the waiting is nearly over. This year's Miss Showgirl will be announced next week. Last night, 18 hopefuls gathered at City Hall for the final judging. Searching for greater things, entertainment ensemble Crome was on hand today to help launch details of this year's show program. Some good news from St George. Area manager Lincoln Rees announced the company's commitment for another 3 years, totalling $125,000. With a 20% growth in attendance figures and record sponsorship, the Newcastle Show Committee is planning even bigger events. NBN's telethon is to benefit, with proceeds from State Rail's memorabilia auction.
They're going to donate 50% of the proceeds of that to telethon. And New Steel Homes are building during the 4 days of the show a steel frame home. They put it up and pull it down to show people how easy it is. On Saturday of the show they're going to auction that off, and the net proceeds will be going to telethon.
All the action of the Newcastle Show gets underway on February the 24th. Melinda Smith, NBN News.
In the chambers where he's presided since September 1991, Bob Horne told a mixture of council and community representatives today that he was stepping down as Shire President.
I'm extremely grateful for the opportunity that has been given to me. Not many people have the opportunity to be a Shire President, and I'm grateful. Thank you.
Mr Horne says he didn't want to leave council, but while he's the Labor candidate for the seat of Patterson, he thought it best to resign to avoid a repeat of the Phil Cleary case. Mr Cleary was the federal independent MP who had to resign for being in an office of profit under the Crown while being a parliamentary candidate.
It has been stated that I could be considered as an elected representative receiving payment of an allowance from a local government body to be in a similar position.
Having given up his $30,000 a year allowance, Mr Horne says he'll now put all his energy into campaigning for the March 13th election. And should he lose, what will he then do?
That's the big question, you know, who wants an ex-Shire President?
As to who will now fill the Shire President's chair, the 11 remaining councillors are expected to meet next week to vote in Bob Horne's successor. Scott Bevan, NBN News.
$1,000 from our Christmas time. So if you'd like to gather around, we'll be doing that in a couple of calls, of course. I'll be happy to, with pleasure, if I'm able to present this to you. Check for $2,670. Certainly worth the effort. These days. It's not a problem. Thank you very much. Thank you. Here at Carlside Square. Thanks a lot, mate. Thank you.
It's been more than 2 years since Newcastle has staged a fight featuring athletes of the calibre of Graham Spike Chaney and Troy Waters, who's currently ranked 5th in the World Boxing Council's super welterweight division. Now with a facility like the Newcastle Entertainment Centre, Australian promoter Bill Mordy has opted to stage a double bill card matching Waters and Chaney against 2 Americans next month. The Americans will be named later this week. Entertainment Centre manager Brad Mellon says if successful, this event will lead to a bigger draw card within the next 6 months.
And we're looking at bringing Terry Norris to Newcastle to defend his world title against either Troy Waters or Spike Chaney.
Waters would be Norris's challenger, with Chaney on standby should Waters be unavailable. For local trainer Wal Bentley, news of the fights has rekindled memories of boxing at the height of its popularity in the 1960s.
Oh, very popular indeed. It would attract thousands of people to the clubs.
And how often would it occur?
Oh, the fights would be put on in various clubs throughout the valley, probably about every 6 weeks.
Wal would like to see the upcoming fight spark a boxing resurgence on the local scene, but believes it needs to be more than a one-off event. Another vital ingredient, a local hero.
Because Newcastle has always tended to be an area where they only support their own local people, and if we had a good fighter here, I think we could probably get it going again.
The inside, his Coronation Day with giant strides is gobbling them up. He's coming home brilliantly. He'll win. Coronation Day is back with a vengeance.
It's coming back from a spell and recording wins like this at Randwick last Saturday that has the racing fraternity talking and Newcastle trainer Max Lee smiling. Coronation Day is being hailed as the best 3-year-old in the country, but Max Lees is keen to keep his feet on the ground, taking it one race at a time. The 3-year-old's next appearance is at Warwick Farm on February 27th, but the big one is the Doncaster Handicap at Randwick in April. The 1600 metre race has caused Max some concern. Coronation Day has been heavily weighted, being asked to carry 54.5 kilograms, 1 kilo over the weight for age scale.
I think that they could have let him in at least a kilo lighter than what he's got, but you know, I'm not the handicapper, and he's evidently got a very good opinion of the horse.
But for today, Max's attention was focused on the 3 maidens he had running at the Newcastle Twilight meeting. While the crowd showed curiosity towards Max's horse Taringa, most interest was on the feature event, Race 5, the Coca-Cola Bottlers Classic Qualifier, run over 1,200 metres.
For the past 2 years, Hunter Water's project of dumping sewage sludge into old mines under Burwood Beach has been a flashpoint of controversy. But what to do with the sludge is a universal question. With that in mind, the Environment Protection Authority is putting together a package of regulations for sludge disposal and is seeking advice from overseas experts. Enter Dr. Alan Rubin from the United States and the answers his country has come up with for disposal problems.
We allow for landfilling, we allow for disposing of it in stacks or in piles in the U.S., and of course we have a very, very large beneficial program which we encourage.
Dr. Rubin inspected the Burwood Beach plant and was told about the mine's option, which has been suspended because of escaping methane gas.
I think the authorities were proper, they took proper action in terminating it, and probably it will be terminated, and I think now the authorities will be free to explore other options like beneficial use.
As for the future, Dr. Rubin believes reusing sludge is the preferred option for the hunter.
To land apply it to grow crops or to fertilise the soil.
But Brian Gilligan from the EPA says the land option could create other problems.
We do have to acknowledge that application of sludge to land can also have its impact, and so we come back full circle, if you like, to our bottom line, which is minimal environmental impact.
Scott Bevan, NBN News.
Gunninan has invested $6 million in a new gear cutter. The machinery will produce vital parts for the mining industry.
Well, this gear cutter will help Gunninan get into export markets servicing the mining industry in Southeast Asia. It will put Gunninan in the group of companies that are amongst the largest gear cutters in the world.
Chief Executive Officer Ken Moss says Gunninan wouldn't have been able to justify the $6 million expenditure on the local market alone.
We see the Asian economies are actually booming, and now's the time for us to get in there and answer the inquiries we're getting with capacity to cut the gears that Asia requires.
Meanwhile, Gunninan's first consignment of diesel-electric trains is on track for delivery to Victoria in the next few weeks. Jane Anderson, NBN News.